Today I'll show you my Kylo Ren mid-game Jedi Survivor build that leans into the speed of the Dual Wield plus the power of the Crossguard as well as some confusion tactics. This build has great flexibility for any scenario or encounter that the game throws at you, so pull up those pants and let's get started. Let me know in the comments what sort of builds you would like. I might do some themed builds based on certain characters from the Star Wars franchise, so let me know if you're interested in that in the comments below. Now let's talk about this build. So I originally was using the Dual Wield and the Blaster, but the more that I used the Crossguard, I actually became to like it better. I kind of like the flow of using the high speed, agile Dual Wield stance and then mixing it with that low speed but high damage Crossguard as sort of a use the high speed around trash mobs and then switch to the Crossguard when you've just got like a single target sort of thing. I've really enjoyed that flow. Now, if you're wondering, the Crossguard is unlocked on the Shattered Moon of Kobo. As soon as that becomes available in the story, you can go there and do the mission there and you'll unlock the Crossguard at the end. It comes available maybe about 10 hours into the story, depends how fast you're going through the story and like spending time exploring Kobo and the surrounding areas, that sort of thing. So around that time, but as soon as you see the Shattered Moon, you can go there and get the Crossguard. So how this build sort of, I guess, works really is I'm using these two stances to combine with the Dual Wield and the Crossguard, and then also some confusion force powers, as I've just honestly found that you can't go wrong with confusion. Like, this game loves to throw large groups of enemies at you all at once, and kind of the best way to deal with it is to turn one or two of them to your side for a short period of time so that you don't have to, one, fight that enemy, and two, they can actually whittle out some of the general trash for you as well. And there's great value in the skills in both the Dual Wield and the Crossguard, especially Impact. Like, I love the shockwave effect of Impact. It's so powerful and just fun to use, but there's a lot of flexibility there. And let's talk about those skills. We'll start with Dual Wield. Now, you probably want to pick up all these skills anyway, but you'll probably use this stance right from the start of the game and then get the Crossguard later down the line. I would go into the focused parry and the precision release first, because these are great because of that AoE like stagger and shockwavy sort of effect you get from that attack. And as you level this out as well, you can then get into like the twofold reflection. So if you reflect a blaster bolt, it splits into two. And then I actually sort of really like Twin Vipers as like a way to spam your lightsaber throws. It's probably the best ranged attack for the Dual Wield when you're using this. So I definitely like that. It does do good stamina damage as well. Really, in Crossguard, I'm mostly using greater impact and that just impact in general for that shockwave attack. You don't need heaps of investment in the Crossguard skills for it to be super valuable. Sundering Swipe is pretty okay, that like AoE swipe in front of you, but the shockwave that you get from impact is still probably better. And then you can level out into the greater cleaving swing as well as charged reflection, which when you reflect a bolt, it like makes it a charged bolt. So it does like a little bit of like an explosion on the hit. And then into survival skills, I'm basically picking up survival skills, the improved stim formula and teamwork. Teamwork is huge to reduce the required heal time for BD stims, so shortens that animation time, which is actually huge for a lot of tough encounters when there's heaps of enemies fighting you. But you can put more points into this resilient survival line as well if you are struggling, but for me, I haven't found too need of investment in here yet, but it's probably worth it down the line once you get a bit further. For the force skills, I'm not investing too much into just like the general Jedi concentration, though channeled energy is a really solid skill, so you regain more focus when you defeat enemies, which is important if you're using a lot of these attacks, especially like impact or the lightsaber throw. But mostly these points are going into confusion, so picking up addled mind, confounded mind, greater confusion so you can confuse two enemies at once, and then into superior confusion and confusion mastery so you can confuse any type of humanoid enemy. It's a pretty like evil ability, this whole confusion system, especially redirected strength, that you pick up an enemy and have them like fight for you. It's kind of evil, and so I think that's why this is kind of a good like Kylo Ren sort of a setup using confusion. It's really powerful in being able to control the battlefield and set enemies to fight for you, especially the elites, if you can do that. And I have used a little bit of the tele abilities here and there, like the telekinesis, you know, push and pull and stuff, often really just to pull ranged enemies into close range so that I can kill them super quickly. But for the most part, I haven't bothered investing too much into that line, though once you unlock the latest skills into that tree that unlock with the story, there is some very powerful skills. But because this is a mid-game sort of a build, we're not really investing too much into that. We're just focusing on our limited amount of skill pools that we do have and what we can actually get value out of so that you can succeed on sort of like any difficulty. For your perks here, wisdom is the only perk to get. I feel like I've talked about wisdom in every a video, so I don't want to cover it too much here, but it increases your experience that you gain from defeating enemies. Although if you want to run something else, go see Z's shop, as she has plenty of good perks for the start of the game. The rest of the perks that are really good come much later, so if you're looking for perks, then Z's shop is the way to go. Some quick build tips for this Kylo Ren build. Now, I start most encounters by confusing a ranged enemy or some sort of an elite, so then they can take the brunt of some of that damage, especially if they're like further away, right? I'll try and get someone that's not close to me, but like a bit of a distance, so they can take some of that damage and like kind of fight over there, and then I can fight over here, and then I can go clean up what they didn't clean up. Then after that, I'll usually focus on the ranged targets, as they're often the most annoying, and then I'll focus on whatever the biggest melee threat is, so like the Magma Guard or the sort of elite, whatever that sort of focus is. And that's the general flow for most of those encounters. And then if you're fighting like beasts and stuff, I usually will confuse one of them, especially if there's two of the same. I'll confuse one, let them kind of deal with the fight themselves, and then just like pick off them at the end. You can also get extra skills from the force tiers, as well as finding essences, but there isn't really a need to grind out skill points that I've found. I've done a little bit of grinding just because we've been making some builds, but for the most part, you don't necessarily need to. You get that first respec for free, and then it only costs you 1 skill point. And because you can have unlimited skill points in Jedi Survivor, because it's just based on you like leveling up, you don't really need to grind, and you will get a fair amount of experience just from completing the story and exploring and fighting things anyway. But you can definitely go to some of these carriers, especially like Coruscant, because there's heaps of enemies on Coruscant. You can go there and just like, you know, grind through those and level up and get some skill points if you are wanting to sort of do something like that. If you're struggling with survivability, I would drop some of the confusion skills that we have in this sort of a build and focus more on the survival skill tree for that extra bit of health, as well as improving the overall amount of health you get from BD Stim. And then also in combat, don't forget about using your actual skills, like using the abilities that you unlock. So whether that be the sweep or jumping down and landing with the impact of the shockwave, or using like the lightsaber throws from the Vipers, whatever the skill may be. Because unlike Jedi Fallen Order, where getting the skills just kind of fits within the overall rhythm of your combat, the skills here are more like individually triggered, like you have to actually use them specifically, and they are absolutely worth using in encounters. Like using these skills, especially like some of the Crossguard ones, to break through enemy stamina. Like a lot of enemies have really big stamina bars, and the Crossguard is exceptional for breaking that down with its like heavy attack. It wrecks through that. And then even like using the Dual Wield as like, and kind of an offensive quick focus for different encounters has been really successful for me anyway. But this build definitely isn't like min-maxed or focused on anything. It's really just like a fun mid-game build to just show you guys what I've been using throughout my playthrough so far. But I just wanted to get a video out today, guys, because I'm working on some embargoed content, so I didn't have heaps of time, but wanted to show you what I'm kind of doing in my playthrough at the moment. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, and what other Jedi Survivor content you'd like to see. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.